This video is about the infamous giant dogs and crows that most players will first encounter in Elden. They're turning into dragons. Right, now that those with the attention span of a panicked gerbil have left, let's go over the forensics. At first, I assume they got their gigantism from being exposed to the scarlet rot, considering the area also has these giant land squirts and the giant skeletons poking out from under the earth. But when you think about it for a moment, this doesn't really track, as the giant land squirts are not exclusive to rot-infested areas, nor are the giant skeletons, with the former appearing in Liurnia and some dungeon, and the latter also seen in mountain tops and Forbidden Valley. So are there any other trails to explore? Thanks to Vatividia and Zulu the Witch, we already know that rune bears are somehow linked to Dragon Communion, with stone scales poking out of their chest, and the same slitted eyes we get when we partake in Dragon Communion, aka when we consume dragon hearts. We know that those who consume too many dragon hearts are bound to transform into magma worms. We also know that this is not limited to humans, as Theodorix was a troll before his transformation. If we can turn into dragons by consuming their immortal hearts, and if trolls and rune bears can do the same, why wouldn't other species undergo the same sort of transformation? Now, where do we find these dogs and crows? In Dragon Barrow, Elden, so basically the same place, and in the mountain tops of the giants. Dragon Barrow is ridden with dragon corpses, and we know from Borealis' Mist that ice dragons were once lords of the mountaintops. And there we see both crows and dogs, carrion eaters that they are, feeding on whatever corpses are found in these areas. Let's go over some visual elements. The dogs have a tail that could be considered dragon-like, but a better piece of evidence is their legs, which look pretty similar to dragon legs, with the same kind of massive claws. The same observation could be made for the crows, though maybe to a lesser extent. Both crows and dogs are afflicted with the same kind of gigantism, though this is not very convincing in a vacuum, as dragons do not exhibit such proportions. But this could still be a side effect of this dragon transformation. And for both crows and dogs, they seem to be losing the usage of their front limbs. The dogs are obviously adopting a raptor-like stance, but the crows aren't spared. They can fly alright, but you are not gonna make me believe that this pathetic wingspan is normal for a bird of this size. Furthermore, we know that those unnaturally transform into dragons, be it dragonkin soldiers or magma worms, tend to end up with non-functional wings. That could mean that the crows are halfway through their transformation, soon to lose their flight completely. And indeed, we don't see them fly around much. Certainly nothing compared to what actual dragons are capable of in-game. Both crows and dogs have very sunken eyes that some could call similar to dragon eyes, though this is not a very strong piece of evidence. Finally, the crows have a bunch of teeth growing from their beaks, which would be very much expected of a bird that's turning into a dragon. Also, if we compare their movesets, they have several attacks that are suspiciously similar. Both dragons, crows and dogs do this side swipe bite attack with their maw wide open. The crows and dragons have a pretty similar fly down attack, though not too easy to spot. The dragons seem to flex their legs before diving in the same way that the crows do. And I wonder if the dog head dive is supposed to be reminiscent of that aerial attack as well. Maybe instinctively mimicking the same kind of behavior, in spite of their ill-fitted anatomy for such a purpose. They also have a very similar back swipe bite attack. They also have a very similar leg stomp attack. Even their death animations are pretty similar. Now, is there some other carrion eater creature with gigantism out there? As a matter of fact, there is. Rats. The rats come in two forms, normal and giant. But there is no visual difference aside from size. The giant ones have a few differences in their moveset relative to their smaller counterparts. Notably, some pretty similar side swipe bite attacks, preceded by a roar with their maw wide agape. If we follow this logic, as per their feeding habits, some rats, like this guy found in Dragon Barrow, would have consumed dragon remains and started to develop both gigantism and behaviors specific to the same dragon transformation crows and dogs are undergoing. we could note that the crabs, also carrion eaters, have a small and giant version as well. Though I don't see much proof that this is the same dragon gigantism. Rather, it might simply be an exaggeration of their real-life ability to grow virtually indefinitely. The big crabs have a sort of breath attack, but that seems to be very much in line with their normal crab biology rather than any dragon-like behavior. Furthermore, the crabs might be immune to this sort of impurities in their food, and to this point, I invite you all to check this video about Big Boggart. And all of this is why I think that both giant crows, giant dogs, and giant rats are undergoing a transformation into dragons. More specifically, I wonder if this transformation could be related exclusively to modern dragons. Rune bears and partakers of the dragon communion seem to take on aspects of ancient dragons. Indeed, even in the most advanced stage of their transformation, they retain the use of their front limbs. Magma worms even wield weapons, kinda like ancient dragons do. As such, I theorize that the means of consumption may have an impact on the transformation itself. The dragon communers eat only the clean immortal dragon heart, and predators such as rune bears only eat fresh meat from recent kills, including the heart. This cleaner process might grant a more graceful, ancient dragon-based transformation than the ones the carrion eaters are undergoing, or at least at first. Meanwhile, the carrion eaters, by consuming indiscriminately any and all rotten and withered corpses they can find, seem to transform into the less refined modern dragons. Side note, maybe the crows' animosity toward the trolls is inherited from their transformation, with the dragons having been chased from the mountaintops by the giants and such, though this might be reaching a little bit. Finally, let's address a few holes this theory has. How about the giant rats in Ailing Village and other non-dragon related areas? Maybe it ate bits of dragons from somewhere else and just kind of ended up here? Yeah, not gonna lie, the rat part of this theory is imperfect. It is not impossible that rats are just going around the world as they please. Certainly feels like a rat thing to do. But that'd be putting in extra legwork to make the theory function, so yeah, you make of this what you wish. For my defense, rune bears are not always found in dragon-related areas, and they are almost undeniably dragon-related, so this isn't a silver bullet against this theory either. What about the crows in Mogwin Palace? Well, as I'm sure we all know, whole chunks of the lands between have been forced underground as punishment for the Eternal City's betrayal. And where would that have put Mogwin Palace prior to such event? Right bang in the middle of Caelid. Sure, this is not the most satisfying answer, as we know so little about this event. We could also theorize that Moog simply put these crows there to act as natural defense. Again, you make of this what you wish. So there you go, that's my contribution. This had been bugging me for a while, and I haven't seen anyone raise this possibility yet. Now, of course, it is possible I missed something that the more elite lore diggers will point out, and it is very likely that the coming DLC will obliterate half our lore theories. But hey, like that ever stopped us from making wild guesses. Thank you all for watching, see you whenever next time is.